This is a feather. You either hate it or you love it. You either play on keyboard and want to exit and quit the level every time you see one of these being used, or you play the level on the very obviously superior controller and it's fine to you. In fact, I did a poll on whether it was a good gimmick or not and the results were quite mixed. But such a simple gimmick of just flying around, does that allow us to complete the entire game? Well, spoiler alert, and simple answer is no, of course, since there are certain rooms where we obviously cannot avoid not being in a feather. But just how much of the game is possible? Today, I'll be answering this question. Let's go over some basic stuff before we begin. I will cover the main game until Summit and also Core, since it's really interesting for a certain reason we'll mention later on. Every time there's an impossible room, I'll add it to the counter here. Keep in mind, this was streamed, so this counter isn't always correct. That's why I will add my own true counter just slightly above it. With that out of the way, let's finally begin our journey to climb or just fly all the way up to the mountain, I guess. Prologue is exactly what you would expect from a challenge run like this. You ignore the bird's advice and just skip to the end. Forsaken City is more of the same. While you see the intriguing gameplay level 1 offers us, let's talk about what you can and can't do as a feather. What you can do is, move around? There are certain interesting interactions we'll see later on, but for now that's everything we can do. We cannot grab onto the moving blocks, we cannot dash out of the feather, there's just really nothing else we can do. We learned two things in Forsaken City. First of all, there's this weird interaction with springs, but secondly and most importantly, cramped spaces are genuinely horrifying. Outside is very obviously the biggest roadblock in the run. Since we can't dash, this breakable block is the first thing we can't deal with. Going around won't work for very obvious reasons, but we also learned that we cannot talk to people. Or I guess also robots. What even is a Bino anyways? And why does it have eyes? After that one impossible room, there's our biggest obstacle yet, dream blocks. These blocks are usually very fun, but here, oh hell nah, they just keep adding to our counter. After this though, there's a tough decision to make. Do I keep going and finish the level, or is the B-side worth it? Well, I didn't realize B-sides were an option until later into the challenge, but when looking at it, I realized every single room in the B-side was impossible. Let's actually count how many rooms are impossible now here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10! Yup, battling actually chases you in a feather too, which is kinda funny. Okay, you all wanted something difficult already, so Celeste Resort is just for you. You'll see why. But before the hard stuff, we gotta talk to Oshiro. After becoming Madeline again and skipping all his yapping, we get to some cycle rooms. These ones are very fun with a feather. I'm probably the only person ever who likes cycles. Then we encounter this really hard cramped spot. After going through some simple rooms, we get to the last one before the key, the infamous platform one, or something. Now, if you try to lower it, you will bounce away, unless you keep drifting on top of it. If you do this, however, you won't be able to lower it enough, and you will die before being able to keep lowering it. In this room I realized that the feather hitbox is actually smaller than it seems. In fact, it's just one tile big. After a few attempts, I accidentally went through the side of the platform, which allowed me to skip having to lower it completely. Nothing could have prepared me for the worst room in the entire game though. I'm talking about huge miss. Traversing through here as the feather is the worst thing ever. 0 out of 10, wouldn't recommend. The room itself is impossible anyways, cause you need to talk to Oshiro, so like I could have just done it as regular Madeline, but whatever. The actual hardest room I was talking about is this one. It's just an innocent room, right? But remember when I said the feather's hitbox is one tile big? And there are 2 one tile gaps in this room in a row? Yup, it's pain. In fact, this phenomenon happens multiple times throughout the run, so I decided to name it. What's the name, you may ask? One tile. You know, cause it's a one tile space. Even if I did the first one tile here, I would instantly die or fail on the second one. or I did everything right and I died stupidly after that. Also, I cannot express just how annoying it is for the feather to just throw me into the previous room. Like, I don't want to go there. How many times do I need to tell you, feather? After a measly 15 minutes, this happened. Pink. I have like 200 on Switch, and then I have like another 150 on Steam. So like, I would say around like 350 or 400, you know? Please, 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 please. Don't. Okay. Dude, where are you? What am I doing? Yes! Oh my god. I got it. However, we also then realized buttons exist, so we know for a fact we're gonna need 3 more impossible rooms. I also decided to count each Oshiro encounter as an impossible room, even though it's the same room multiple times. After another 1 tile gap, we get to the second button and talk to Oshiro again. In the final button, we do encounter another 1 tile room. However, this one is especially annoying because there's a dust bunny going up and down. It comes down to entering the gap while it's all the way at the top. The room after this, however, has 2 more 1 tile gaps. I told you they will reappear a lot. This time around, even if you go through the first one, you won't have enough time to turn around enough to slide against the wall for the second one. The solution is simple though, you bounce off of the wall to have more time and then go again. We can now hit the final button and move on to the next checkpoint. This one is pretty simple compared to the other rooms we've seen. Well, I wish I could say that for the entire thing, but unfortunately, the final room has this thing. Yeah, that's right, 3 1 tiles in a row. That's like really hard. Probably like Grandmaster, trust. However, me and Chad quickly noticed this little gap up here. I don't even know why it's here since you cannot use it in a main game in any significant way, but thankfully we can use it here to skip the part where I lose my sanity. Then you can also just go above the third one and get to the Oshiro chase. Why the hell am I getting chased though? You're the one that added a couple of impossible rooms to the counter, I should be chasing you. Also, you can bounce on him as a feather, so that's cool. Anyways, let's leave the resort already, you're probably getting tired of hearing the words Oshiro and 1 tile. In Golden Ridge, we get to see yet another innovative interaction. Bubbles. As a feather, you can actually enter bubbles, so keep that in mind. There aren't any extremely difficult parts here, but if I had to point out something, it would be when the feather kept rage baiting me here. Wait. No. No, I got this. I got this. Stop it. Dude! It's not even 1 tile, it's 2 tiles. Apart from that, this chapter was really quick. Let's see what Past Me had to say about Mirror Temple. Welcome to Mirror Temple. The spooky one. You can enter red bubbles as expected, but there's also something niche about them this time around. I didn't realize this until much later into the stream, but you can dash out of red bubbles. This almost allows us to skip 1 impossible room, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like it's gonna be possible. You see, after grabbing this key, you need to press a button, which we can't do as a feather. However, there's a bubble all the way here, so if we grab that, we could dash out of it and hit the button. To open the gate to access that red bubble though, you need to hit this other button. No matter just how much you try, it's just a few pixels away. Thanks a lot to Cats Can Code for telling me about this theory though, I would have never thought about that. Unfortunately for us, there's 1 more button at the start of the next checkpoint. And more buttons here. Whatever, we can finally get to some interesting stuff. This room right here seems easier than it actually is. You see, maybe you think this is a 1 tile gap, right? However, that is somehow less than 1 tile big, so the feather won't be able to pass below it. Or can it? You see, actually you don't see. How the hell am I supposed to explain that the feather can just go through these with a specific angle, like bro's just touching it? Shoutouts to Ari for proving this to be possible, cause apparently that's a thing. Although someone in chat also suggested dashing out of the bubble to hit the button, so this also could have worked. Seekers are usually stupid while playing the main game, but this time they could potentially help us, since they can press buttons. Or that's what I thought, until I tried to make the Seeker press this one. Apparently, Seekers cannot hit upward buttons. Why the hell not? This unfortunately means it's another impossible room. Or it was an impossible room for now, until way later on the stream, Artie proved it possible once more. Remember how you can dash out of a bubble? Well, if you get hit by the Seeker when it reforms, your feather runs out for a tiny bit and allows you to dash. We also considered doing the B-side at this point, since it had less Theo rooms, and we already knew Theo was gonna be a problem. So that could have potentially worked, but after realizing you needed 2 more impossible rooms to even access the cassette itself, and then a whole lot of more buttons inside the B-side, we stuck to the A-side, which was the better option in the end. Once in the dark section, we could easily skip everything, surprisingly get through a crumbling bridge, I didn't know that interaction, and reach the Brazilian. Obviously, you cannot grab Theo as a feather, but you can actually hold Theo as a feather. This means that if you grab Theo and enter a feather, you can actually carry him. It means it's just one impossible room. We turn back to normal, grab Theo, and then turn back into feather again. We're not out of the woods yet though, as there are still some things to mention here. First of all, you can hit buttons while holding Theo. We are finally done with those pesky buttons. Unfortunately, we get to this room. This room is pretty dang stupid. We cannot just drop Theo, and we can also not reach it from below. I did say this was an impossible room during the stream, but I was forgetting the most notorious tag from my challenge videos. Huge shoutouts once again to Cats Can Code for sending me the proof that you can actually spin or freeze this. Then there's also this room, where you need to get this dash block out of the way. Oh yeah, we'll just do what we did before, right? We get hit by a Seeker and then dash. Except it doesn't freaking work with Theo for some stupid reason, god dang it! Yeah, you can already add that to the counter. Okay, while editing the video I thought of an idea. You can make a Seeker hit Theo so that he drops, so you could drop him in the tile next to the dash block. Then you would need to hit the Seeker, use the reform tag and instantly dash, activating the platform, grabbing Theo and skipping this impossible room. It's very RNG based, so I can't get it myself, but if anyone can actually manage to get this, make sure to let me know somehow. And to end off this stupid long chapter, we need to shove Theo into this big giant eye. If we shove Theo and ourselves too, it'll just bounce us off, so you know what that means. I was getting tired of the same old Mirror Temple buttons. Let's now do the feather chapter as a feather, and most of it was a breeze. It was built for feathers, so just roaming around everything was so easy. We also did add this as an impossible room, by the way, pretty self-explanatory. I took a look at the B side at this point, but it seemed like it required 4 impossible rooms, so the A side was much better for now. It was so easy that to add a challenge I even got to the Easter egg room. There's another impossible room here because of the Kevin of course, but the A side was still better than the B side. Water worked the same with the feather, no surprise there. The Battling boss fight was lackluster, since it doesn't have any one tiles or any cramped gaps really. Some rooms took some strategizing, like this one where if you just went forward you would die, so you needed to go backwards and waste some time. Overall, it's an easy chapter. Now, we finally get to Summit, where we can use our double dash, wait, wrong script. Now we finally get to Summit, where we need to rediscover every gimmick. 0 meters was obviously free, however 500 meters was actually quite interesting. Well, not the whole thing, just the final room. Take a look at this platform. You obviously need to grab it for it to go away, and we obviously cannot do that. To make this room possible, we need to use something else to our advantage. You have seen how you can dash out of Secret Momentum or Red Bubbles. Well, that's also a thing for the Battling Orb. However, this sends you upwards, so there's no way you can activate the platform still, right? I mean, obviously not. What were you thinking? You need to demo dash up at the right time. When the feather appears, you'll be inside the block, because when you shrink, your hitbox lowers. When the feather appears, you'll be inside the block, and when you're inside an object, the game pushes you upwards. Huge shoutouts to Mad May for proving this room to be possible. This is honestly insane. And now I'm realizing that this is like the freaking Avengers, everyone is here helping. You already know the dream block part, yeah, it's 5 extra impossible rooms if you're wondering. Let's go back to everyone's favorite hotel. Cycles, oh wait, holy GD reference. Made everything a bit harder, but no room was specifically hard, just some good feather movement. Neither does 2k meters honestly, so let's see if the Mirror Temple section actually has anything. This checkpoint has a 1 tile here. We do a simple key skip, a pretty tight gap up here, a 1 tile without a wall to slide against, so this is just try until you get the correct alignment. To skip the doors, we need a bunch of 1 tiles again. You get the point. Big area good, 1 tiles bad. In the 3k meters, I skipped a lot of flags. This is probably a world record. Also, we can just like fly above pretty much everything up until flag 4. I also realized that these pink clouds have collision, so that's pretty cool. Flag 3 I had this horrendous thing, which is just annoying, but it is possible by pause buffering to do every movement perfectly. Well, after dying and doing it again, I actually managed to beat it. That is just the main game though, we're here to also do core. Now why did I say core was interesting all the way back at the beginning? The level itself isn't that interesting, but what makes this fun is the routing. You see, to enter core, you need 4 crystal hearts. Every crystal heart is 1 more impossible room, because you need to dash to get the crystal heart. However, not every crystal heart can be accessed as the feather. The ideal thing to do would be to get 4 crystal hearts that allow me to get each of them in just 1 impossible room. This is why Old Site was guaranteed. Forsaken City had 1 platform in the way, so that would be 2. Golden Ridge had a breakable block, Mirror Temple had another breakable block, Summit would need many impossible rooms plus an extra breakable block, so that just leaves 2 other crystal hearts. These 2 are more interesting than Old Site. Reflection has a breakable block in the same room as you do the crystal heart, so that's also just a single extra one. Celeste Resort can be accessed easily too, by going back through some painful stuff and 1 tiles, so that's just 1 more impossible room too, right? Well, let me show you a little something. What you just saw is the Heart Wrong Warp. I will not explain, cause I'm not here to lecture you and neither I know what this even is or how it works, but if you ask nicely in the comment section, I'm sure Angel will come and show you. He's the one that thought about it and he also helped a lot throughout the stream. Now why am I even bringing this up? Well, this crystal heart is in the same room as this other path, which is a different path than the one we came from. This means we add 1 impossible room because of the crystal heart, but we also skip having to talk to Oshiro once, basically giving us a crystal heart for free. Now we only needed 1 more crystal heart, but all the others require at least 2 extra impossible rooms. However, B-sides also have crystal hearts, so if there's a chance that a B-side is entirely possible without impossible rooms, it would allow for us to get the last crystal heart. For Forsaken City we cannot even get the cassette tape. Same for Old Side. Same for Mirror Temple. Same for Reflection. In Summit B-side there are dream blocks. In Golden Ridge B-side there are a couple of breakable blocks. And in Celeste Resort B-side there is a single breakable block before the Oshiro chase, which means this was a no-go. I ended up grabbing Golden Ridge's crystal heart and adding 2 impossible rooms. In fact, I ended the stream there and forgot about it until now. While making this script, I had an idea. Remember Reflection took us 2 impossible rooms? If we could theoretically beat the B-side in just 3 total, that's the equivalent of an extra crystal heart for just 1 impossible room instead of 2. The first impossible rooms comes from getting the cassette tape, but that's fine. The B-side was also made for feathers, but obviously with harder movement. It was all smooth sailing up until this room. We can't just break the block, we need to hit Kevin. Wait, my bad, no violence allowed. We need to turn on Kevin. Wait, forget it, you know what I mean. That's 2 impossible rooms already. If at any point we find an impossible room that isn't the Crystal Heart room itself, we're cooked. Although if it was like that, I wouldn't be mentioning all this in the video. We now get to the falling section, which is really fun as a feather. It really tests your movement. In this room I wondered, would it be possible to go through the demo setup since the gap is a bit bigger? After looking at it, I realized it was pixel perfect. A pixel above or below would kill me. But since I'm the gigachat that I am, I aura farmed the hell out of this room and did the demo as a feather without pause buffering. This battling boss fight room required a tight turn, and this one too since it's very cramped. Unfortunately for us, the very last room before the Crystal Heart room has this. We are just 1 room short from being able to get this Crystal Heart. Unless we use the Soul Forbidden Spinner Freeze tech. The tech I hate to see in my videos is going to allow us to beat an entire B-side just to save 1 impossible room for core. Gosh, I love this routing. Time to actually talk about core though, and it's way less fun than actually entering the chapter, which is kinda funny. I did the fire skip first try though, and although there's yet another breakable block in our way, core gets fun once the lava starts rising and decreasing. We then get to yet another impossible room, obviously being the Crystal Heart. But with that, we finished the game, or at least the first 8 chapters of it, that is. I was gonna do farewell, but things got complicated when reaching the Heart Gate, and realizing that farewell skip is also possible, and it's complicated to see just how many impossible rooms that is, so that means I'll leave it for a future video. Anyways, that means chapters 1 through 8 of Celeste can be beaten as a feather. All except 36 rooms, of course. Anyways, huge shoutouts to everyone who helped making this video and everyone in chat in my stream, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.